The cyberspace is home to billions of people and is the right platform you need to grow your business. The Center for Innovation and Technology is offering you a golden opportunity to speak directly to your market at an affordable price. We also offer media training workshops, live streaming, documentary production, and events management. Get in touch with us today on the following numbers: +263 867 711 0290 or 0718 100 235. Don't forget to subscribe to our social media platforms. Like our Facebook page, Center for Innovation and Technology. Follow us on Twitter @SiteZW. And you can also check out our website www.site.org.zw. You can also visit our offices at 45 Moffat Avenue, Hillside, Bulawayo. Take advantage of this opportunity to expand your business.
It's a very good morning to you. Welcome to our Sake Online. My name is Zenzele and Ndebele, and this is the Breakfast Club. I'm not sure whether it's really a good morning, but I know most of you are on holiday celebrating the Robert Mugabe National Youth Day. Many people have different views about this day, but anyway, we are celebrating the day, and most people are at home today. But also we are coming to you today after the announcement of the monetary policy by RBZ, which left many people surprised, the others confused, the others shocked. But I just realized that a number of business people were happy about the monetary statement that was announced yesterday. A number of them said they are now going to be able to get the foreign currency in the banks or formal sector without necessarily going to the black market. But what does the monetary policy mean to the ordinary person? Because clearly pensions are going to be eroded, salaries are going to be eroded, prices are going to go up, and the question is, in the next short term, 5 to 6 months, is the economy going to stabilize? But we are not economists, and in the next few days we'll be actually inviting different economists to try and talk to them and find out what are the implications of this monetary statement. Did we effectively bring the Zim dollar now that we have a new currency called the RTGS dollar? Someone said it's the only currency in the world which has a name and a surname. So this is what we have in Zimbabwe. All these funny things that are happening. But today in our program we have invited Mrs. Julian Mugova, who is a lawyer and the ERC board member. This program is brought to you by ERC, and we are talking about a case which happened last year and is still ongoing, involving the chiefs. Mrs. Mugova, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
So in May 2018, Chief Charumbira said that traditional leaders were going to support ZANU-PF's presidential candidate in the harmonized election. He said that in the 2013 and 2014 National Chiefs Conference, the chiefs had agreed that they were going to support Robert Mugabe, and therefore it was automatic that they were going to support Emmerson Mnangagwa as their candidate. So the Election Resource Center made a court application demanding that Charumbira retract his statement, saying that in all the national newspapers and all the broadcasting stations, they were saying that this was in contravention of the Constitution of Zimbabwe. Maybe my first question to you is, what really motivated the ERC to make this application to the courts?
Two reasons primarily. The first one, the ERC is a think tank which has got an interest in democracy and good governance amongst other issues. And the second one, out of public interest, because the ERC is one that is involved in ensuring that there's good governance and democracy in in our nation in particular. They took it upon themselves. They had an interest in the matter because it's a matter that speaks towards issues of constitutionality. In voter education, they do come across some of these issues, especially which concerns the chiefs. And they had an interest in actually seeing that democracy is seen to be upheld, the constitution is seen to be upheld, and good governance prevails.
So if we are looking at our constitution of Zimbabwe, what does it say basically when it comes to the chiefs and their political statements?
There's various sections in the Constitution. Section 288, Section 28 was one of them. That was Section 281 was one of them. Section 56, Section 2. Effectively, they speak to the effect that chiefs should not be involved in politics, and they should not be partisan. They should not be seen to be driving political agendas. They should not be seen to be supporting political parties. So they should just be non-partisan, effectively.
So then it happened that sometime, I think it was in May last year, the High Court Judge Justice Clement Piri actually said Charumbira's statement was in contravention of the Constitution, and he was supposed to, within, I think, 7 days, retract the statement. What happened after that?
Yes, the judgment was delivered on the 9th of May last year. And then Chief Charumbira was served with that judgment on the 5th of June. And from the 5th of June, he had 7 working days within which to retract his statement. He didn't do that, as we have come to know. He, in fact, then on the 15th of June, actually on the 20th of June, he then made an application for a rescission of that judgment that was granted in the High Court. And he made his application for rescission. The ERC did its opposing papers. It opposed that application, and Chief Charumbira never did anything about his application thereafter. So which then prompted the ERC to then make an application for dismissal of Chief Charumbira's application for rescission for want of prosecution, because he had not pursued it any further. In terms of the High Court rules, a person has an option to apply for the dismissal of that application where someone does not pursue it any further, which is what the ERC did. And the judgment was granted just a few days ago. The court dismissed Chief Charumbira's application for rescission, and Chief Charumbira has been alerted through his lawyers of this development. So effectively, that then means that that initial judgment that was given by the High Court remains extant.
So, just maybe, I'm not sure that it's administrative, but we find that the judgment is made on the 15th, it was on the 5th of May. He gets his papers maybe in June, a month later. Why does it take all that time to actually get served with the papers?
What happens generally is that if a judgment is handed down on a particular day, like in this case, it was handed down on the 9th of May. We only uplifted it on the 14th of May because that's when it then becomes available for uplifting. It's handed down, it goes to the typing pool for typing. So that's a few days. We uplifted, and in that case, we then instructed the sheriff to serve. So the sheriff serves generally between 7 and 14 working days after he's been given the papers. So it excludes the weekends, it excludes public holidays. So it's only in June. And the 5th of June was at the earliest date that the sheriff was able to serve. So it may seem like it's a long time, but it is a short time. It is a short time in terms of just the reality of the logistics that are involved with uplifting an order, having the sheriff be the one to effect service.
Also, there are a lot of orders, because you can't, as a lawyer, you can't pick your judgment and go to Charumbira and say, here you have it.
You could do that, but because of the nature of the case, and also just out of an abundance of caution, it helps to have the sheriff serve, because the sheriff then brings what's called a return of service, which you can always use. The danger with you as a lawyer then just picking and going to serve the respondent, for example, you could say, okay, the respondent was not there, and service in a letterbox is sufficient, for example, or service on someone else is sufficient. So, you know, there'll always be these disputes. Oh, no, you didn't come, or it wasn't me, or the person that said that they received the order on my behalf doesn't, I don't know that person. So you can always have issues if you're the one that serves. But if it's the sheriff that serves, it does away with a lot of issues, a lot of disputes, a lot of denials of this and that. It's taken at face value, and that's enough service.
You know, one of the interesting things when Charumbira was arguing his case, he was saying, no, I'm not speaking on my individual capacity, but I'm representing a decision by, you know, all these other chiefs. I'm just communicating what the chiefs said. I mean, why then do we then, as the ERC, go and take Charumbira to court as a person and not the whole Chiefs Council?
Chief Charumbira spoke in his personal capacity as a chief, because he is a chief, and also as the president of the chiefs. So he wields a lot of power, and whether it's in his personal capacity or as a president he wields power on the rest of the chiefs. In his personal capacity, even as a chief, he wields a lot of power over the people that he is a chief over. So you'll find that the statements, when he said the statements, he said it to the chiefs at the national conference, and he repeated it on a subsequent date to the public. So he said it even in his own personal capacity, and he would be liable for that. I believe he would be liable in his personal capacity, and even by virtue of the fact that he is the president of the chiefs.
You know, there's something that I think complicates our relationship with chiefs, basically. You have these chiefs that are supposed to be representing people and they're supposed to be apolitical, but they sit in a Senate, which is basically made up of political representatives.
Yes.
Is there no contradiction there?
Sadly, there is, and I don't know how it can be remedied, but their conduct is governed by the traditional Chiefs Act, and also part of it is also governed by the Constitution. And I'd like to believe internally they have their own documents which govern their conduct. So there is that confusion, yes, and there is that sort of conflict that exists. But it's something that I believe can be remedied maybe by the legislators at a later date. But it's very clear that they should be apolitical. So they shouldn't be involved in politics whatsoever, even if they do sit on the Senate.
So now Charumbira, we can say, maybe has lost this case or what he wanted to do. He now we're back to the initial judgment. What are his options?
His options, well, could be to appeal if he wanted to, but an appeal has to be on a point of law. So on which point of law could he appeal it? He may want to say, well, the dismissal could be on a technicality, but a court cannot really revisit its own judgment except through an appeal or review procedure. And it has to be on a point of law, on a point of procedure. So I think his chances may be very slim, but take a shot in the dark. He might want to even go to the Constitutional Court and say, well, that decision by the High Court was in contravention, well, maybe challenge it on a constitutional basis and say, you know what, in terms of the Constitution, what I did was okay. I don't know, and have the Constitutional Court decided on a constitutional matter, but it's a shot in the dark. Yeah, in my view, his options are limited. The best would just be to abide by the court order that has already been given, and we move on from there.
So, as ERC, what are your options? Let's say the fact that he doesn't within. So, when do we start? The first question, maybe my first question is, when do we start counting the 7 days now?
The 7 days already passed in terms of the initial court order when he was served on the 20th, on the 5th of June. So the 7 days already passed. His application had the effect, well, of sort of suspending that, because then if his application was successful, then it does away with that order. But given that his application has now been dismissed and the 7 days have passed, I think a reminder, in my view, that, you know, the 7 days has passed following your service of following you being served with the order, and now that your application has been dismissed, here's a reminder: can you comply within 7 days? Failure of which we will then have to approach the court for contempt proceedings, make an application for contempt of court proceedings, because he has not abided by that court order.
So what would you say, I mean, lastly, is do you think this was a good judgment?
I believe it was, because it just wasn't decided by way of just the order in the effect that he hadn't opposed it or anything. But the judge writes a comprehensive judgment, which I believe would be available online, where he looks into the law, what it says, the constitutionality, the legal aspects. He does into them in quite some detail. So it's both an informative judgment and a legally sound judgment. So I believe it was a good judgment that was handed down by the court, because chiefs play a key role in electoral processes. You find that the electorate becomes confused when the chiefs are saying you should do this, because they wield a lot of power. So that judgment has got the effect of saying, you know what, that was wrong. That which was done was unconstitutional. And I think it puts also the electorate at ease, and it gives them a better perspective of what it is that is expected of chiefs. So overall, I believe it was a sound judgment. It was a good judgment, and it's a landmark judgment for Zimbabwe, because there hasn't been a judgment like that before.
Thank you very much. That was Mrs. Julian Mugova, the lawyer and an ERC board member, talking about the recent judgment where the High Court actually asked Chief Charumbira to retract his statements. And we know that our chiefs have always been accused of dabbling in politics and supporting ZANU-PF openly, yet the Constitution clearly says that they are supposed to be neutral and apolitical. So let's wait and see what will happen in this case, and we'll be following the case closely and see how it actually plays out. My name is Zenzele Ndebele. Till we meet again tomorrow, have a good day.
Thank you.
The cyberspace is home to billions of people and is the right platform you need to grow your business. The Center for Innovation and Technology is offering you a golden opportunity to workshops, live streaming, documentary production, and events management. Get in touch with us today on the following numbers: +263 867 711 0290 or 0718 100 235. Don't forget to subscribe to our social media platforms. Like our Facebook page, Center for Innovation and Technology. Follow us on Twitter @SiteZW. And you can also check out our website, www.site.org.zw. You can also visit our offices at 45 Moffat Avenue, Hillside, Bulawayo. Take advantage of this opportunity to expand your business.